Today on CityCast Pittsburgh, the Latinx community is growing in Allegheny County, and we're seeing more restaurants that reflect that. I'm here with two people who are shaping Pittsburgh's Latin American food scene, from organizing festivals to getting restaurants off the ground. They've got some strong opinions on what dishes they love and where to get great Latin American food around the city. It's Thursday, November 2nd. I'm Mallory Falk, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. I'm here with Luz Amanda Henk and Howard Alvarez from the Center for Latin American Studies at Pitt. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So I want to talk a little bit about your experience finding Latin American food in Pittsburgh. Luz Amanda, I know you moved here from Colombia in the 90s. What was it like for you at first, trying to find food from home, and how has that changed over time?
When I moved in 1994, honestly, I don't remember any restaurants except for Mexican restaurants or Tex-Mex. And when I started working at the Center for Latin American Studies, we didn't have restaurants. I used to call a person in the community and say, hey, do you know someone that would like to cook? And that's how we did it. But now it has changed a lot. It has evolved a lot. I email some of my good friends, and some of them say back in the 90s or early 2000, they will go to Monroeville to go to Mass so they could go to a Mexican restaurant in Monroeville. So that tells you how much we have grown. Howard didn't face that yet. He just he came at a good time.
Yeah, I found a welcoming city and so many great options to eat in Pittsburgh.
There's many countries represented now.
Yeah, Howard, you came to Pittsburgh more recently, about 5 years ago. And in addition to your work at Pitt, you also work with the Pittsburgh Hispanic Development Corporation, helping people open restaurants, food trucks, catering businesses. Our Latino or Latinx communities have grown a lot here.
Yeah, because we have two kinds of I would say, migration in Pittsburgh. One is directly from Latin America, and the other one is relocation from other states. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of this process of enrichment of the city, because we are around 10,000 in the city, and we are around 35,000 in Allegheny County from the last Latinx needs assessment from the county. But we are growing. So we will see more expression of the culture from the Latino community in the near future, for sure.
And before, it was mostly people that came to study at the University of Pittsburgh or Carnegie or other universities. So the people used to come in and leave. Mm-hmm. Now we're having people moved into the area. They're from Latin America and the Caribbean. So you see that change too.
So I want to get into what food you specifically love. What is your favorite Latin American dish?
For me, my favorite dish, honestly, is rice and beans. But the thing is, every country makes it differently. So depending where you're from, the dish is different. So I say rice and beans. Even during the pandemic, we tried to make rice and beans in the microwave. So the students that were online could learn how to make it just using like a can of beans, rice, and a microwave. So that tells you how much I like rice and beans.
Even the microwave version?
It took me a month to master it, but I got close enough to the one you cook on the stove.
How about you, Howard?
Well, I would say arepas, because that's a traditional dish from Venezuela, where I am from. It's something that you can eat basically with everything, and you can get it as breakfast, lunch, or dinner. We are still fighting with Colombia because we say that the arepa is Venezuelan.
Colombian.
But here in Pittsburgh, like thousands of miles away from my country, we have a great representation of Venezuelan food as well. So I can have the great pleasure of getting arepas for breakfast, even here.
And is there anything you've encountered for the first time in Pittsburgh that you really love?
I will mention a new dish that I just discovered a few months ago from Honduras that is called baleada. Mm-hmm. That it's a kind of tortilla filled with beans, fried egg, cheese, beef. I mean, it has a lot of different flavors, and it's just delicious. So you can find them at the Steel God Market in Penn Hills. I mean, you will not regret after trying that.
Yes, my husband learned about baleadas at the restaurant in Coriopolis, a 5 stars Honduran restaurant, and he's addicted to it. And it looks, you will think it's a tortilla, it's a quesadilla, but it's not. And when you translate it to English, it doesn't translate very well because it's like a shooting.
Yeah.
So
Shooting a flavor.
maybe that would be the right way, because I'm like, why would that be the name? And then we looked and I'm like, oh, so, but it's it's very rich.
So I know you two designed kind of a culinary tour for us throughout the Pittsburgh region.
We tried.
You kind of broke it up into different categories, different places you can go to get Latin American food. So I want to start off with restaurants, brick and mortar spots. What are some of your favorites for finding Latin American food here in Pittsburgh?
Lately, one of my favorite places in Coriopolis is called 5 Stars Honduran Restaurant. And it's the one that lately I tend to go. One, because it's closer to my house, but I think the food is delicious. They have a soup that is similar to a Colombian soup. Also, they have carne asada, which is steak or grilled steak. Also, I like cilantro yajo. It's in the south side. Howard?
So we have 5 Venezuelan restaurants and 1 coffee shop. And I will start with Papelon, that it's the newest of them, and they have amazing empanadas and tequeños. And then I would recommend Cilantro Yajo as well, as Luz Amanda said, because they have great patacones. Patacones is a kind of smashed plantain with any kind of meat, some dressings on top, and sauce. Also, a great option is Pavilion, and I really like their share plate, where you will have different options of Venezuelan food, and that's really good for small reunions or parties. Um, Also, Arepitas, because it's like the perfect place to grab and go, because it's in the middle of downtown. And then you have Tuillo Cafe, that it's another Venezuelan coffee shop where you can grab a delicious Venezuelan coffee with different cookies and different candy from Venezuela as well. Um, yeah, I will stop to talk about Venezuela because something that I'm biased for that, but those are my recommendations.
Maruchan superfans are everywhere. From the busy moms who want to deliver maximum flavor in a flash to dorm room diners who want to put some slurp in their step. There are a ton of copycats you could use, but if you want to bless your bowl, there's only one true Maruchan. Whether you choose instant lunch, ramen bowls, yakisoba, or restaurant quality gold, Maruchan is the only ramen worth obsessing over. Smiles for all. Maruchan. See what all the ramen hype is about at maruchan.com.
So part of the reason we approached the two of you for this episode is because you planned this amazing Latin American and Caribbean festival this past fall. Luz Amanda, I know you've been involved with planning this festival for years. I'm looking forward to catching it next year. But for now, what about food trucks? Like, what are some of your favorite street food spots in Pittsburgh?
I will be biased here, and I will promote first the people that participated at the Latin American and Caribbean Festival. For example, we had the Argentina food truck. I love their empanadas and their selection of their empanadas, so I highly recommend them. You have to look for their website or Facebook, and it will tell you where they're at. I know that they open a restaurant now, and let me look. It's in 2332 Arlington Avenue in Pittsburgh. So that's their new location. But I know they have the truck in different locations. We also have Antojitos Hondureños, Cilantro Yajo, El Chucho, Leon's Caribbean, which covers the area of the Caribbean that sometimes it's become, and I think they're like 2 food trucks now, but we need more to cover the Caribbean. And I know Leon's Caribbean and Pupusas y Antojitos Ellen también, they were also at the festival. But there's so many other food trucks. La Palapa also has a food truck.
Yeah, they are so good, by the way. I will mention Antojitos Hondureños, that when you see that huge blue food truck with so many pictures of different dishes from Honduras, is very exciting. I will mention El Chaqueños, that is a mix. It's very interesting because it's a mix of Argentinian and Dominican food. So it's an explosion of flavors.
And what about for people who might want to make some of these dishes at home? Are there any grocery stores you would most recommend, especially for some, harder to find ingredients that you might not encounter at, say, a Giant Eagle or something?
Well, I will mention one of them. And when I'm saying one, I'm talking about 5 grocery stores they have, and this is Las Palmas. Las Palmas is the biggest Latino grocery store in Pittsburgh. So they have a huge selection of different items from different parts of Latin America, and it's worth it to go.
Yes, and I will add to them. There's a couple, long time ago, I've been here since 1994, that tells you La Reyna, it was in the strip. That was the place that we used to go and get ingredients or things that we needed. But over time, we have right now, and I lived in Ambridge in Beaver County. Now we have a grocery store, which I'm so happy. It's called Monroy Grocery Store, and they have a lot of items from Latin America. La Poblanita, I know they have a place in Coriopolis and a place in Ambridge. I think they're in other areas too. Then also we have a Brazilian grocery store, which is exciting. And my Brazilian friends, please forgive my pronunciation. It's called Mercearia Brazilian Mini Market. And it's quite new, but it has a lot of the Brazilian items that our friends are looking for. Also, I heard, this is a new one because I emailed different people asking for information. It's called Orquídea Latin Market. It's in Monroeville, and the owners are from Ecuador, but that's a new one that I just heard. And also Panaderia Jasmine, and it's a Mexican bakery.
Yeah, in Mount Lebanon.
Yes.
Okay, finally, honorable mentions, spots that you didn't get to shout out, but that you really want people to know about.
Yes, I have a list. I say also we forgot about catering. Catering, a lot of the places that we mentioned, and there's many more that they will cater your event. They will cook for you. There's times that I needed like tamales and Peruvian tamales. They might have a different name, but they will make it for us. And I know that I work with, Pisco Peruvian Gourmet. They're excellent at catering if you have an event, and we have catered from them. The Rincón Oaxaqueño also has catered in some of events.
Delicious.
For my husband's 40th surprise birthday party, I hired La Palapa, and they brought their truck to our driveway, and we had a party. So if you contact any of them, I say out of 100, 99 of them will host your event or cater your event.
Yeah, I would say La Palapa as well, since you have that sense of community. And when you are interacting with them, the owners are very down to earth. And I will mention Mariscos El Marros, that we recently did the grand opening with the Pittsburgh Hispanic Development Corporation, that it's the only Mexican seafood restaurant that we have in Pittsburgh nowadays. I could be hours and hours here talking about the great representation of Latino food that we have.
I found out that there's close to Cannonsburg, there's a place called La Calera Mexican Bar and Grill, and it says offers the taste of Central American with national favors from Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador, and Nicaragua. And I have to say, Pittsburgh is becoming a place where you can find really good Central American food. I think it's the most representative right now in Pittsburgh after Mexican food. So I say we're doing pretty well. So we're okay. They keep bringing them in.
Where do you two see Pittsburgh's Latin American food scene in the next, 5 to 10 years? Do you think it's going to keep growing? And what would you like to see?
Well, I would say with the pattern of immigration that we are experiencing, so we will have a bigger representation of Latino food and restaurants, and that will enrich the culture of Pittsburgh as a welcoming city.
Everyone keeps saying that we just keep growing. We just need more local-owned Brazilian restaurant. Also, I'll say more Caribbean food will be nice. So I think we will have a good representation of Latin American. Right now, we do.
And I know that you have kind of a crowdsourced list where people can actually submit their Latin American restaurant recommendations.
Yes, we did this at the Latin American Studies Center for the pandemic, for people to find food and to be able to help the restaurants and order food from them. So we created a list. The list needs to be updated, but we're working on a project of creating a directory. But we can send the list of restaurants, food trucks, grocery stores, and the people that we didn't mention because we'll be here all day.
Yeah, and we'll include a link to that in our show notes. Luz, Amanda, Howard, thank you both so much for all of your recommendations.
No, thank you for having us, and hopefully we did justice to how wonderful the food from Latin America is and open new doors or new opportunities for people in Pittsburgh to try new foods and go around the city, because for this you had to travel around the city. You can do different towns at different times and you can be eating very well.
That's all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh, and we've got a fun opportunity for fans of our newsletter and podcast coming soon. If you want to have a drink, a beer, a soda water on us, come on down to Trace Brewing in Bloomfield on Thursday, November 9th. The team will be in the beer garden, and the first 20 people to arrive and prove that you're signed up for the Hey Pittsburgh newsletter will get their first drink on us. That's 5 to 7 p.m. next Thursday, November 9th. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you then.
Well, that's another fight that we have with Colombia. About
we have the coffee.
Which country has the best coffee? But
well, we can get into we can bring the people from my office. They're from Brazil, and they will say the Brazilian coffee is the best. Maybe you can do a whole show just on coffee.